Hello, I'm Jody Wolf. You're watching Expoz, February 23, 2016, 1:13 a.m. in Birmingham. Topic, Judge Scalia's death. Truly a mystery, part two. And I'll finish this up. And I apologize for my bouncing around, but as usual, I type everything here and throw it up on the computer, and then I see several areas I need to have made changes on, but I didn't. So, but here's the part two and the final part of this, I think, mystery, and I believe this is going to be looked into a whole lot more. Again, title, full of mystery. There are three, and get this. This is in MARFA, Texas. This is a nothing town. Three military airfields or airports that are all closed. They've been closed for a long time. And at least before 1995, which was my first trip all the way down through that part of the country. And I took, in total, I really count them up, probably more like 16 or 17 times. Carried my wife twice before she passed away, and both my daughters went with me. One went twice. Anyway, and I went alone 12 times. 11 or 12 times by myself. But here we are. These airports, they're all on the same side of the road. They're on the southern side of Highway 90. As you come into MARFA, one is a very large airport. All these runways on all three airports are excess of 6,200 feet. And there's 5 runways at some, there's 4 runways at one, there's 3 runways at another, but you can also see multiple runways that are shut down. I mean, you can't land there unless you go bush hog, but you still see it from the sky. And you can see every barrack, every building, every hangar where the footing is. And why they're there and why they're all closed is a mystery. This is the very spot where the mystery lights of MARFA are. When you stop at this roadside place at night to view the lights, you're looking straight across the biggest of the 3 airports and you don't even see it. And so now another story here is about the first year I went down in 95. And then the next year in 96, we went, my wife and I jumped in the car and we went to Branson, Missouri. Left Branson because I saw a big sign talking about Bass Pro Shops. And I said, you know what, let's head that way. That was in Springfield, Missouri, so we went there. When we were leaving, I saw a sign that said Route 66. And we looked at each other and said, want to go? She said, sure. So we hung a right and we started out toward California on Route 66. Well, we get to Tucumcari in New Mexico, and the snow headed us up in the mountains, and that was the wrong way to go. But we finally got out of that mess, and then we went dead south until we ended up on the Mexican border, Big Bend Park, on the river. And we call the river one thing, Del Rio, or they call it Rio Bravo. We call it the El Grande, and we call it and I'll think of that in a minute. I apologize. But anyway, the point is, that was in April. So we got back home, and then in June, we set out. My wife flew to her sister's in San Diego, Lakeside, California. So I'm driving out to see her or to meet her, to pick her up. And on the way, naturally I go through the same place. But as I was driving, and you can look at this on your map, out Highway 90, and I'm just miles from hitting the highway where it comes into I-10. And as soon as you get on I-10, you go west. The next exit is Highway 1111. You can look at it. It shows it being a dirt road. It shows that it goes straight south to the Rio Grande, turns right, and it comes right back to I-10 20 miles further down the road. The entire trip was only 50 miles, so I decided to go. Well, I got lost. And the reason I got lost, the place I was supposed to turn had a giant sign there, plywood, do not enter, private property. And then a DEA agent and a border patrol hemmed me up, caught me, and they knew I was lost because they said they sat and watched me from a mountaintop for about 45 minutes. And so they told me which way to go. We sat and we talked for 2 hours. I still had my badge with me. And we just talked. I gave them a mellow yellow. They've never heard of a mellow yellow, but they got one. But they asked me if I'd been there before. I said, not right here. I've been down to Big Bend. I went down and went in through Presidio, which is only one store in the place. He said, yeah, you're right. And I said, and I went past it all the way to the dead end, and I think I crossed the river. He said, did you cross it twice? I said, I did. He said, you crossed over into the county adjoining Presidio County, Texas. He said, and when was this that you came down? And I told him it was the 15th of the 15th of April. He said, wow, how far did you drive across the river? And I said, well, probably about 200 yards as it started getting muddy. So I used four-wheel drive, turned around, and I got out. He said, it's lucky you did, because had you continued, he said, you would be dead by now. I said, whoa, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Then he told me about the DEA agent that was kidnapped from El Paso, Texas, carried into Juarez. And from Juarez, he was carried to a sheriff in Mexico, owned a lot of land along the Rio Grande there, Rio Grande to us. And I was in his backyard. This is the sheriff that makes $38 a month. And he owns all this land. He owns stocked catfish, stocked bass ponds. But anyway, they're telling me about the DEA that was kidnapped. And they said, and he was found 15 days after you had come back out. And this blew me away. And I took notes of everything they said. I still have them all. And that was a hot spot for drug activity all through there, all coming up around MARFA, all coming around Alpine, Texas, and other places, but all the way through there. He said it was just a hotbed of nothing but trouble. And so what is this Judge Scalia doing in MARFA, Texas, where there's no phone service, where he's supposed to have U.S. Marshal bodyguards with him, and they were not? So what happened? Nobody knows, and you're not going to know now, since the judge ordered his body cremated immediately, and she did it by someone else telling her to do it. That will come out. where I was lost, or where we were lost, crossed the Rio Grande and turned around, we were less than 2 miles from where the DEA agent was being held captive, kidnapped, and being tortured. We were 2 miles away from him. Had they known we were there, and they probably did, they had as much trouble getting to me as I had getting across, so I turned and went out. Therefore, I'm probably lucky that I did get out and did escape. I didn't call it escape then, but now look back on it, it scares the hell out of me. I did carry a gun that probably would not have helped me. Well, I'm at 11 minutes on this. I'm going to end it, and I'm going to scan the rest. If there's any more to say, I'll do it coming up next. If not, just take the story and know that you're going to hear more, because it doesn't make sense. This judge being where he was, without protection and without a cell phone. But there was service. I promise you there was service. And I have phone records that go back that far that proves I called from that area several times when I got lost. Jody Wolf Expoz.